Chris Gelser here with
Matt Owl.
On this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss Ant-Man and the Wasp, the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, fresh off the heels of Avengers Infinity War. What's been going on with Ant-Man and the Wasp this whole time, Matt? Why weren't they in Infinity War? We're going to find out. Kind of. And then it's a prequel to a film horror series that I just never really got into. I watched the first Purge, Matt. Well, let me rephrase that. The original Purge film. And I was okay. It was all right. I was a little underwhelmed by it, but I thought it was an interesting concept. I'd never seen parts 2 or 3. So now we have the first Purge, which we'll be discussing. And I also did catch up with the other 2 entries in the series. Finally, there's so much going on that we don't have a general segment tonight. So we're going to go with the lounge because there's a lot of topics we want to hit up. It's going to be a great hour, relatively speaking. And also, too, this week starts our theme episode. So this episode has been particularly curated and mastered specifically to be listened to on airplanes. So I hope you do enjoy that. It's going to be just a sonic sensation. So let's start the whole show off with a clip from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Wow, Dr. Pym. Like who would have thought that once again, in your hour of need, that you would turn to us, you know?
Not me. Help yourself.
Hey, what's up with the fancy pastry? We got to keep the food budget down.
Well, what are we supposed to have for breakfast?
The oatmeal packets.
Oatmeal packets.
It's insult.
Why is it an insult?
Because it tastes like sand.
You know why? It's because it's organic.
No,
That's
it's
why.
not organic. It's sand.
It's the most important meal of the day.
You know what? You can get creative with it.
Break teeth.
Put a little brown sugar on it. You can put some cinnamon. Put a little honey. Whatever.
Guys, come on, man. We got bigger fish to fry. Is that my desk?
Yeah.
What? Why do I have such a small desk?
Well, because you weren't there when we were choosing desks.
You snooze, you lose.
Well, I was under house arrest.
Yeah.
You know what? This isn't even a desk. This is garbage. You found this outside amongst garbage.
I got it at a rummage sale.
So you save money on my desk?
Guys.
Hope, please. We need to focus, all right? We got to find that lab already. Jeez.
All right, Matt, so that's a clip from Ant-Man and the Wasp, featuring, of course, Ant-Man stealth MVP Michael Peña from the last film. So I have one question for you, and I'm going to ask you, of course, why don't you tell the folks at home what's going on in Ant-Man and the Wasp? Why are we back with these folks? And here's how I feel about this thing, though, and I want you to run with it, Matt. Ant-Man and the Wasp is everything that is great and everything that is bad about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all encapsulated into one film.
Okay,
so
very
what's
good.
the film about? And then tackle that point.
All right, so Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place a couple years after Civil War. Ant-Man has been, or Scott Lang, is under house arrest for his participation in breaking of the Sokovia Accords with Captain America. As a result of the world knowing about the Pym particle and Pym's technology, it forces Hope and Hank Pym to go on the run, and they come to Scott right 2 days before he's scheduled to be released from house arrest, and saying that they need his help in rescuing Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp, from the quantum realm. And that is basically what the movie's about.
Fantastic. So what do you think, though, about my general conjecture of the film? That it's
I can see that. I think,
and bad.
to be fair, I'm gonna qualify that.
Okay.
And just say that I think that the stuff that epitomizes all the stuff that's right about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the best pieces of it certainly elevate this film and far outweigh the drawbacks of it, I think. I'm not 100% sure I know where you're going with this, but I think for me, the movie's just a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, it's just really inventive the way that they, utilize the technology, the characters, or even the villain don't really have villains. They just have antagonists. They're complex. They're not kind of like these cackling evil monster guys. Everybody seems to have like a real emotional connection, and everybody seems like a fully fleshed out character. But I guess
you think so?
I think so. I mean, the important people, yeah. You don't think that Hope or Scott or Hank are fleshed out?
No, well, I think so, but I mean, they're all also existing characters from a previous film, so I don't know how deep you think you're going to get here. I think that the big issue with this film, basically, it's a Saturday morning cartoon come to life.
Okay.
And why it works is it's got a very light atmosphere. It's got very low script, very low stakes, and a witty script, though it felt a little warmed over. It's kind of like they said, all right, this is what worked in the first film. Let's kind of do a little bit more of that, but just do a little twist on it. So, and then another thing too, as I said, stealth MVP Michael Peña, who's also good in this one again. But again, they do the same thing where he reenacts kind of a conversation or meeting thing, but not quite to the same joke level, not as quite as funny. He's got a little, just overall, I think the material in this one isn't as strong. You got, of course, my man Walter Goggins, who is, I think, criminally underused in this thing. Not Walton. He's one of the, as you said, antagonists. Because you're right, the film doesn't really have a villain per se. And then, though I think Ghost conceptually is great, and if I'm correct, Ghost is an old Iron Man villain. I think she takes some turns and makes some decisions just don't logically really make any sense. Maybe I can just tack that into the fact that she's going crazy because of what's happening to her, I guess. I don't know. But if anybody took a second to just sit and talk, the whole film unravels and it ends in 10 minutes. So I don't know. The strengths of the film, just like the last film, of course, is Paul Rudd. I mean, his performance, I shouldn't say even performance, but his charm and humor, for me, just elevates the whole thing and makes it eminently watchable. And that's what I mean when I say that it's everything that's great about the Marvel films. It is a lot of fun to watch, but there's really nothing to it at all. The whole thing hangs on Rudd, and he does a fine job. And he's got good chemistry with Evangeline Lilly as well. I think the two of them are good. And I think they do a good job. Peyton Reed does a good job of making Evangeline Lilly kind of an equal to Scott Lang, if not a superior, right? So I think that in the ways of female representation in the film, I think it does a good job. Randall Park has some fun moments in this thing as well. I don't know. It's weird because when I walked out of this thing, I'm like, I really like that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to it. So I was trying to figure out what grade to give it, and I still don't know. Part of me is like,
so when you let me just, I want to challenge your argument here a little bit. So when you say there's nothing to it, I want you to elaborate a little bit more. Is it that there's no sense of stakes?
Well, that's one. There are no real sense of stakes in this. At no point are they not going to rescue Janet Van Dyne. We know that. Why? Because you've cast Michelle Pfeiffer. I think that's a trip as well. I think you should have kept that casting hidden, which is something else I'm going to talk about in the lounge, which drives me absolutely crazy. But I think that's part of it. I think that the villains never really felt villainous to me. Everybody's just kind of doing their own thing, but nobody in this thing is really a bad guy per se. It's like basically it's cotton candy come to celluloid life, and that's fine. It's fine. It's just that it's not. I don't know. It's just I've really come to the realization at the Marvel films that why I enjoy them is because there's nothing really to them. They're just fun little movies to spend 2 hours on, and that's all they are. We're not going for anything greater here. There's no great statement on any of this stuff. You're sitting down your $10. You're going to have a good time for a couple hours. You're going to leave and you're going to forget all about it. And if that's what these are for going forward, then that's fine. I'm just saying that there's really nothing to this.
I would counter. Okay, well, you're absolutely wrong. I mean, and you're just wrong. You're not wrong, but it's just like your pretentiousness is just showing through here, and I'm very disappointed in you, Chris.
Well, let me tell you, it is very, very easy to go exceptionally wrong in the opposite direction, and I think we all know what I'm talking about. Okay, it is very easy to go too far to take a dog leg and then get lost in trying to be serious. So it just, I don't know. It's Matt, I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's just,
yeah, I would argue this is better than the first Ant-Man.
I don't know. I just watched the first one again 2 weeks ago in anticipation of this because I liked it so much. Yeah. I don't know if it's better. I think that Yellow Jacket is a better villain. I enjoyed Corey Stoll in that, I think, more than I enjoyed, oh boy. Is it Abby Ryder Forston? What's her name? I'm blanking on the young lady's name now that plays Ghost. I got it here. Sorry.
Hannah John something. Her first name is definitely Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah John Kamen. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that. So the first Ant-Man is basically Iron Man, right? It's basically what it is. It's Iron Man 2.5. Is really what it is. I mean, it's genius, technology person who's fighting against, instead of a mentor, a mentee, or an apprentice who happens to be bald and then gets in the technology in the suit and they have a fight at the end. That's basically the plot of Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got a heist film in it, right?
Yep.
So I think this is a little freer to do something a little different. I mean, granted, it's only as different as the confines of the Marvel universe will allow. And I know people are starting to complain about that kind of thing, but at the same time, if it's got a certain level of quality to it, I'm going to forgive them. If it's not exactly like, Nolan's Dark Knight or, again, we could go with the box that DC's going with, and it's like they just refuse of the dark hole that they put themselves into.
Right.
But I think this is just a condensed, takes place over 2 days, just kind of, like you said, fun, heisty action movie. Like this is Ocean's 2, the ants is basically what this is. And I liked that Ghost. I mean, yeah, I guess she's been raised to think that Hank Pym was, did this to her basically, and she's in constant pain. So I had no problem with the fact that, if she had just sat down and talked to people, then maybe it would have worked itself out. But she's desperate, right? So,
right.
I don't know. Her motivations seem fine to me. I mean, I thought this was incredibly enjoyable, and it's nice because if you look at the 3 Marvel films that we've gotten this year, right, you've kind of gotten your standard level kind of, hero saves the day against, the villain in Black Panther. I mean, that's kind of a, the story beats of that, the kind of overall mythos of that is basically just any other superhero that you get, right?
Yeah.
And then you got the Infinity War, where it's basically throw everything up on the screen. It ends on a huge dour note, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it was kind of like the big event, right? And this is just, to me, is like a bit of a palate cleanser. I mean, it's like, this is fun. Go watch it. You're going to have a good time.
That's the exact note I just wrote down, actually, was that's what, after the heft or the weight, if you will, I guess, of Infinity War, that's what this is. It's a palate cleanser to kind of take the foot off the brakes for just a little bit, to kind of let you catch your breath, and then we can jump right back into something. And I think I may have enjoyed the moral ambiguity of the villains in this film, well, specifically with Ghost and even Bill Foster, which I loved that we were able to get Bill Foster into this film. I like when they bring back the lesser known, heroes or villains that have these little moments in them. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I think in a weightier film, the moral ambiguity may have played out a little better for me. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give this thing a B. I mean, it's a fun little movie, but that's all it is, and that's all this stuff's ever going to be. And I'm fine with it. These have become to me the comfort films, like Law and Order is for me, right? Or the original Superman. Whenever things are if I'm feeling a little down, whatever the case may be, I'll pop one of these things. I can turn my brain off. I can have a great time for a couple of hours. I'm at Space Mountain here and I'm having a lot of fun, and then it's okay. And that's okay. Yeah. I'm trying to say this without sounding negative or judgmental at all. I'm just assessing the situation for what it is. And that's fine. I'm giving the thing a B. I don't know what else. I'm not saying it's like a C film or anything.
Listen, y'all. Okay, listen. Chris is giving it a B. He had a lot of fun, and it's irritating him because it gave him a lot. He had fun with it.
I love Paul Rudd. I love the guy.
Listen, guys. We're hitting summer fatigue here. Okay, we've had to see some things that are not super great, right? And this is the time of year that we can get it. And honestly, this is, as far as a summer blockbuster tentpole film goes, I thought this was more than fine. It might end up being one of the, hell, I would say it's probably going to be 2 or 3. as far as what's the best movie of the summer, I mean, I hear nothing but great things coming out about Mission Impossible.
MI6, yeah.
You know, so I mean, Infinity War, Mission Impossible, and then this would not surprise me if those were the top 3 films of the summer for me, anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's a really fun, good movie. You could take your kids to this. You know, you don't have to worry about like Jurassic Park, where the super intelligent dinosaurs terrorizing an 8-year-old throughout the whole thing. Right. It's fun and it's good, and it's I hate to say this, but it's wholesome fun. It's wholesome fun for the most part.
It is.
It's bloodless.
Listen, I guess for me it would be the pinnacle of the Disneyfication of superhero movies. And I'm not saying that out of criticism. I'm just addressing it as what I think it is. That's all.
But
I'm
at
not
least
saying
we get
that's
wildly
negatively.
varied.
I'm not saying that's definitively negative.
I think I just like that Ant-Man seems to have a tone, right? You know, you're going to get something
sure.
You're going to get something fun. That's what an Ant-Man movie is. It's not like Captain America where it's espionage and all this kind of stuff. It's not, it's just different. I like the fact that you're seeming to get like there's some theme and mood through lines that you're getting with these films, and that's like kind of what you're going into.
Right. So if you want A, you go with Ant-Man series. If you want B, you would go with Iron Man. That type of thing.
Right. Sure. Right.
All right. I guess that's fine. That's something. Do you think there's ever going to be a high stakes momentum shifter again, a la Winter Soldier? Because I don't count Infinity War. Maybe it will be when the sequel comes out next year. But considering half the people who died in that thing have films on the calendar, I don't think there's any real stakes in that film. But Winter Soldier really shifted the playing field for the MCU with the reveal of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra.
Yeah.
You think they'll have something like that again?
Yeah, I think we will. So I think what's going to end up happening...
Skrulls?
You've got, we've got Captain Marvel, we've got Infinity War 4, and then we got Spider-Man Far From Home next year. Is that next year too?
I believe so.
Thinks it is? Okay. But everybody said, Feige has said that Far From Home is the kicking off of the next phase. That's going to be the next shift. So I guess whatever comes out of that is what we're going to start seeing. And you'll notice that they have not named almost all of their films that have gone out as far as 2024. They've not named really a lot of them, and they're keeping it close to the vest. So, we're going to get a Black Panther 2. We're going to get, the Scarlet Witch, Black Widow film coming out soon. And then, of course, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But, I mean, other than that, we don't really know what they're going to be coming up with. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of movement, and I guess we can talk about this later, too, in the lounge. But, I mean, I don't know, some of the kind of moves that they're making, acquisition-wise, maybe they are reshuffling the deck so they can use some of that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It's Captain Marvel, it's Infinity War 2, whatever the title is going to be, and then Spider-Man. Those are your 3 for next year. And don't forget about Shazam, of course, which will be far superior to any of those films.
Of course. So I just want to point out, Chris, so you talked about how much you like Ghost. You know who Ghost is a big part of, right? I mean, she was an Iron Man villain, but her most recent thing that she's been a big deal in is she's been a long-term member of the Thunderbolts.
Really?
With Luke Cage, and also Venom is part of Thunderbolts.
What the hell happened to Thunderbolts? Thunderbolts were all bad guys led by Baron Zemo. I'm assuming they've all switched.
So basically that was the original one, because when Baron Zemo was using these guys to pretend that they were superheroes, but they were really supervillains. But every incarnation after that has basically been a ripoff of Suicide Squad. So basically S.H.I.E.L.D. has like captured supervillains, and they're like, okay, you go out and do these missions, and we'll basically, I don't know what the deal is. And Luke Cage is there to keep him in line. So that would be kind of cool if they got Coulter and Ghost and Tom Hardy's Venom to in there, and whoever else they want to throw in there, and just make a better movie of the Suicide Squad.
I know. I feel like DC is forever going to be Hydrox. So if you don't understand that
came
reference,
up with so much stuff already.
Hydrox is people consider as the off-brand Oreo cookie, but Hydrox was first.
They were the
Oreo
original.
is the off-brand, but it's much better. And that's what it is. DC will forever be Hydrox.
They will, yeah.
Let's hope not. Shazam's going to be fun. You see that? We'll talk about it in the lounge, maybe, that picture. That was the first official release of Shazam. I just want to read this. I'm going to get your grade, Matt, on Ant-Man and the Wasp after I read my favorite review snippet on Rotten Tomatoes from Jim Lane of the Sacramento News and Review. Now, I didn't go this way, all right? I want to make that clear.
Okay.
It's enjoyable enough, even for those who would rather eat broken glass than sit through another elephantine CGI fest from the damned Marvel Comics universe.
You know, people who complain about these movies, like, I get it. I mean, they're not groundbreaking, you know. They're just not. And that's okay, as long as they keep producing middling to really entertaining product. I mean, the worst thing that they've ever produced was middling, and that's saying a lot. I mean,
I guess. I mean, those two Thor films. I don't know.
Well,
if I call them middling.
Thor, Iron Man 2 is pretty much a stinker.
Iron Man 2 is middling for sure.
Yeah. Doctor Strange is very middling for me. I was not impressed by Doctor Strange at all.
I think it's interesting once you get past the first 20 minutes. It's fun.
Yeah.
All
but
right.
anyways,
Give me a grade.
I'm going to give this thing a B plus.
We're not even that far off.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm grading on a curve, I would probably give it an A minus. But if I'm just kind of being straight up, I would say it's a B plus movie.
Fair enough. If you had a chance to see Ant-Man and the Wasp, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I'd like to know. Coming up, Matt, on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. We got a big one. So here's a clip.
I wouldn't drink that if I were you. It's full of toxic chemicals.
How do you know?
Because my sister-in-law drank it and her tongue turned black.
Oh. You're Felix's mate.
I beg your pardon?
I mean, I think you made it with Felix, if I heard it right?
That's none of your business.
No, I don't suggest whether it actually happened or not. I'm just saying that I recognize you from when I heard that rumor.
I think I'm gonna say goodnight.
Wait. No, wait. Start over. Who cares about Felix? I'm Chief. That's my name.
I see.
I'm introducing myself. Who are you?
I thought you knew all about me.
No, I don't know anything. Should have kept my mouth shut. It's all hearsay. Anyway, you're Nutmeg.
So you do know me after all.
After all? Yes.
So there's Bryan Cranston as Chief and Scarlett Johansson, who we'll be talking about a little bit later, as Nutmeg. And that, of course, is in Wes Anderson's Isle of the Dogs, which is being released on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, July 17th. Matt, there's a special set that comes with, it's a gift set that comes with figurines. So you get all the main dogs as well as the young boy there, whose name I am blanking on again. I'm doing a really good job in this episode, folks, let me tell you. I'm pulling these names left and right. It's awesome.
Left and right. Pow, 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 pow.
Also coming up is the Joaquin Phoenix that made both of our films. Was it number 3 for both of us? You Were Never Really Here.
I think so, yeah.
A just desolate thriller. I don't know, it's not an action movie. It's just it's something, folks. It is something. You Were Never Really Here is being released. The Rock returns just in time for us to go watch Skyscraper, Matt. He's here with Rampage, the adaptation of the classic video game with the werewolf, the lizard, and the merman thingamabobber.
No, it's King Kong.
The King Kong. What's wrong with me? It's been a long day, folks. So it's got a lot of special features going on with that one. If you're a fan of Rampage. That was one too, Matt. Was weird because it was fun and light and other times really violent.
Yeah, like disturbingly violent.
Amy Schumer's latest I Feel Pretty is being released with some deleted scenes in a gag reel. The horror film starring Lucy Hale, Truth or Dare, is being released. Includes an unrated director's cut. Conceptually, I thought that looked like might be really interesting, but the reviews were just dismal for that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe when it hits a streaming service, we'll check it out. Paula Patton returns in Traffic. This is an action-packed thriller, Matt. A weekend getaway at a secluded mountain estate turns deadly for Brea, who is Paula Patton and her boyfriend, after they accidentally discover the hidden world of a brutal biker gang, and they get stalked at this fun cabin. It's supposed to be a laugh, right? That is Traffic. Disobedience, starring Rachel Weisz and Rachel McAdams, where Weisz plays a woman who returns to her Orthodox Jewish home after the death of her rabbi father and stirs up controversy when she shows an interest in an old childhood friend. New to Blu-ray, we got the Terminator 2 4K. So maybe I should be more specific. The arm statue, have you seen that arm set? Where it's basically the Terminator arm from the forearm to the hand.
Yep.
They're re-releasing that now with the 4K release of Terminator 2, so you can buy it for a 5th time, I guess.
Oh. You never
Maybe
have
now they finally have a really good transfer of that thing, but I am not hopeful. Doom Asylum is being released. If you thought Sex and the City 2 was a stomach churner, you ain't seen nothing yet. Long before playing one of Carrie Bradshaw's best gal pals, actress Kristen Davis found herself up against an altogether different kind of horror in 1987's Doom Asylum, a riotous mix of gore, gags, and goth girl groups galore. And involves some horny teens. They end up in an abandoned asylum, and of course things go horribly wrong. Includes a brand new 2K restoration from the original camera negative. I know you're excited about that. It's a couple new audio commentaries, some other stuff. I'm not familiar with Doom Asylum, but I'm sure our buddies over at Grindhouse Video here in Tampa will be carrying it, so maybe I'll be able to check it out. And then Matt, your straight to DVD pick of the week. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This ticks me off because it's the write-up has nothing to do with the name of the film, really, or the catchphrase. Amityville prison. Now, I don't know if they built a prison on the Amityville house property. I guess I can't imagine how big that would be. But Amityville prison, the tagline being, for God's sake, break out. If you're not familiar, it was for God's sake, get out.
Mm-hmm.
For the original film. Which, have you ever seen the original Amityville horror? Not good.
It's not good at all.
Not
terrible.
Good. I'm not even talking the Ryan Reynolds remake. I'd probably watch that before I'd watch the original with Margot Kidder and Josh Brolin's dad.
Yeah.
So a group of friends sneak into an abandoned prison, Matt. This one's abandoned, with the intention of making a ghost hunting video until they start to go missing one by one. I felt like if it was more in a prison or something, it might be a little more interesting. But I don't know. I guess it's just a haunted prison in the town of Amityville. I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit of a bait and switch all around with that title. So, what should we be streaming this week?
Well, there's actually a lot of options, but I narrowed it down to had a bunch of comedies, thought something light for the summer, and then I said, you know what, screw that. Let's watch this. So I'm going to recommend Pandorum, a pretty weird little sci-fi horror film starring Dennis Quaid and Ben Foster. They play two astronauts in the future who wake up on their ship all alone, and the rest of it is, kind of sealed off, and something is very, very wrong on the ship, and it turns out that there are some creatures that are in the bowels of the ship that they have to try and overcome. It's a if you liked like Event Horizon, something like that, this is actually that type of film, and it's a pretty good little B horror movie, sci-fi movie that you should check out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'd recommend that too. That's a good one. Good times, good times. I've been meaning to rewatch Strangers with Candy. I got the DVDs. I gotta catch up with that at some point. All right, let's go ahead, Matt. Let's talk about The First Purge.
You're angry.
Yes, I'm angry. Very angry.
You want to release that anger?
I need to.
Thank you for your honest answers. First, a few formalities. Batesias, the official flower of the experiment, they represent rebirth. In the box you have recording lenses, contacts. Should you choose to actively participate, wear them on the evening and they'll document everything you do. As I said, greater participation yields greater financial compensation. Next, we'll implant a tracking device. After that, you'll be all set, as they say. To purge.
Matt, are you all set to purge?
Always.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So you've seen all the films then, right?
I have, yeah.
All right. I hadn't, as I said in the opening of the show, I hadn't seen parts 2 and 3. I'd heard they actually were pretty good, but I just never got around to them. So I thought, in anticipation of seeing the first Purge, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to tell you something, Matt. 2 and 3 are pretty good.
Yeah, they
now,
are.
I think the acting gets progressively worse as the films go, but conceptually, I think they're interesting, and I think they do a relatively good job of balancing the social commentary with the violence and actually kind of giving us a backstory of what the true impact of the Purge and why, instead of the Ethan Hawke film, which more just represents to us almost a haunted house film, basically.
A home invasion film kind of thing, you know. So
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, and you know what? The first one's middling. It's okay. It's not particularly good movie, but and I can't say that the second and third one are particularly good either. But they're fun. They're like way more fun than I thought they were gonna be, and I had a good time watching them. You know.
No, yeah. I mean, the fact that they are just basically genre films that deliver some interesting, potentially dumb, interesting conversation, but it's and I think too how do I put this? So I just think that as a genre film, it's a little smarter than your typical horror fare, and it's trying to make a social point about its violence. That I don't know if it's always successful in those second and third films, but I get what he's going for, and I appreciated the efforts. Which brings us to the first Purge. This was not very good.
No.
And oddly, this has the biggest budget out of all of them, and yet it felt and looked the cheapest to me.
It did.
And I was wondering, is Frank Grillo the key? I mean, is he the one that made those two films as watchable?
That is hilarious that you say that, because as soon as I started watching this, and within like 10, 15 minutes after we'd been introduced to all the principals, I was like, man, I don't see a Frank Grillo in there, and this does not bode well for us. Yeah, no. And there are some choices made by some of the actors in this thing. Maybe it's more the director's fault. I'm not quite sure. DeMonico didn't direct this one. He wrote and directed the first 3. He just wrote this one. And it does feel kind of like because here's the problem. The third film kind of wraps everything up, right? There's really nowhere to really go, I think, with the series after the end of election year. Right. So but it did well. So we got to make another one. So let's get a prequel and show everything that led up to the point of why we're doing the Purge. Except guess what, Matt? We don't do that. We just basically show the first Purge. I was really looking for more. I don't know. I wanted a little bit more of what brought us to this point. I don't know how deep and fleshed out we wanted to get it, but I was let down and disappointed by that. I really thought there was an opportunity here to, I don't know, make even a more direct statement than the first two or the second and third films did, but it didn't at all. And I don't know. I just don't know what the point is of this. Except it just felt very much like just cashing in and making a new one. It says we got nowhere to go. Let's make a prequel. Am I wrong about that? No, you're absolutely 100% right about that. You know, as you said, they'd always kind of hinted at the kind of larger social reasoning for this and kind of what this has done to society in the other Purge films. But this, you kind of get this kind of talking head montage thing of this, this new party taking over, and a few snippets of exposition, and that's all you really get. Like, I'm with you. I think if they had started off more, maybe devoted like maybe 15 minutes to like the history of this new America or whatever, and kind of given us more of a background. But to be quite honest with you, all of this, it looks like today's America with slightly more poor people are a little struggling, maybe a little worse financially, right? And that's really all it feels like. It doesn't feel like some kind of dystopian totalitarian thing. and I don't know. I don't think it's really particularly earned. I don't really see, how this all became this, national phenomenon where we're killing people every night, or every year. And I get where they were going with it as far as how they kind of got around that, but I don't know. It's just I just was not invested in this at all. Like, it was not exciting. It wasn't really scary. And the principals, they were not particularly engaging people. I don't know how any of this would work after they were all said and done.
Yeah, I think too. I think there's a mistake in this thing. So at the end, there's a villain that's kind of early in the film named Skeletor, and I think they hint to something where he may be around. The inference I got was that this guy was like hiding in a closet and he was going to jump out at some point. And he does eventually show up, but it just didn't seem to tie in, I think, the way that maybe they had intended it to, and it just felt sloppy to me.
Right.
I did a few things like that too. I wonder too, so Marissa Tomei is in this, interestingly.
Right.
And she gets basically killed, for lack of a better term, off screen, right? It's a CCTV footage.
Right.
That sees her. So I'm putting her like, she's like, listen, I got a week. I'll do this thing for you drop me $1 million and I'm in, but I'm not getting killed on camera. I felt like this was just weird. I don't know. Just some questionable decisions throughout this whole thing. It had some interesting moments, and I think what they're trying to say about poverty and race relations could have been really interesting in this thing. I love the fact that they embraced the fact that they were Nazis that were hunting these people down. But
Klansmen and Nazis and stuff,
But I just felt it just didn't go far enough. If you're gonna try and be witty and introduce some kind of serious kind of conceptual things in this, then go for it. Instead, it just devolves into your typical, survive the night horror fare, and it's a weird thing to say that it doesn't have the intellectual heft of parts 2 and 3.
I know, right?
It doesn't. And I was a little disappointed by that. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was very middling. I would even so far to say I was not a huge fan of the first one. I didn't think it was particularly good, but I would watch that over this.
I think
this is just pointless. And at least the first one has Ethan Hawke and Lena Headey, so that brings it up a few notches as far as acting talent goes. So
I think too, the only interesting thing I thought about this was the introduction of the contact lens cameras.
Oh yeah,
and the effect of the glowing irises or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was creepy. Yeah,
but that's basically it. That's it.
That's it. No, and that's fair. Super fair.
So I'm giving the First Purge a C-. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm on that. I'm on board with that. I would say C- for sure. I wouldn't go as far as D just because it wasn't that terrible, but it's pretty mediocre.
Unfortunately. If you've got a chance to see the First Purge, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Matt, do you have any other thoughts on this?
No, I really don't. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say other than it's like what we've already said. It's just meh. It's a meh film.
All right. Hit us up, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Now it's going to be the lounge. Oh, yeah. Here we go. It's the lounge. We're just going to kind of BS for about 20 minutes. Here's a clip.
Can we ask you some questions? It's for our podcast.
Well, in that case.
How many people have you saved? Wait, never mind. Does your thing really stand for hope?
Yes, it does.
But it looks like an S.
Yes, it's meant to. It's meant to wind like a river. It comes and goes. A man I knew used to say that hope is like your car keys. Easy to lose, but if you dig around, it's usually close by.
Did you ever fight a hippo? No, that's not hippos are the most deadly. What's the best thing about planet Earth?
That was a real powerful scene, especially with the CGI'd mustache. I remember when that all came out. That, of course, is the opening for the Joss Whedon adaptation of Justice League, where I saw a clip on YouTube of some like guy who's like him and his buddy are CGI guys. They dabble in it, and they were able to do it better, where it looked more natural than what.
Yeah, with a $500 computer.
So, I played that clip from Justice League starring Henry Cavill, who of course plays the Man of Steel, Superman himself, because of this. So there's something. This is a quote. There's something wonderful about a man chasing a woman. There's a traditional approach to that, which is nice. I think a woman should be wooed and chased, but maybe I'm old-fashioned for thinking that. It's very difficult to do that if there are certain rules in place, he said, because then it's like, well, I don't want to go up and talk to her because I'm going to be called a rapist or something. So you're like, forget it. I'm going to call an ex-girlfriend instead and then go back to a relationship which never really worked. But it's way safer than casting myself into the fires of hell because I'm someone in the public eye. And if I go for it with someone, then who knows what's going to happen. That's Henry talking about the Me Too movement, so basically he's complaining that being one of the best looking men on the planet, that he can't now sleep with groupies anymore at the pace he used to, is basically what he's talking about. Which I don't understand these people. I really don't. Now, he has since apologized for what he said, and he said all the right things, and there's no whiff of him being inappropriate that I've ever heard. So, and plus, the mere fact that if you haven't seen that clip yet, where he reloads his arms in that Mission Impossible Fallout trailer right before that fight in the bathroom, which is one of the most incredible things I think I've ever seen in cinema. I'm willing to cut him a little slack, but I just shake my head at this stuff. I really don't. Is it that hard? I don't know. I just don't understand it.
Well, I mean, maybe I like to play devil's advocate. Not that I even really subscribe to a lot of the stuff, but just to challenge Chris because he gets all apoplectic about it. But maybe it's more like an Aziz Ansari situation. Like he's afraid he's gonna have a bad date, or maybe he's gonna come off just like not like sexual predator, but maybe just a boorish jerk, and they're gonna basically put him on blast.
I think the problem with that, I think the issue with that is, first off, the Aziz Ansari thing was, I thought, a little, I don't know. I'm still not where I land on that one.
Yeah.
That one's real tough. But I feel basically that I think it's been relatively well known for a few decades now that if you're a big star, you got to be careful because you never know what you're going to run into.
Right.
And there's ways to say that and there's ways not to say that. And I just think that if he's talking about Me Too and then that's what he brings up,
right?
I just think there's different things, way that
you're right. You're right. I mean, I understand that he doesn't want to say, he doesn't want to be like Julian Edelman or Justin Bieber, where their one night stands take a picture of them while they're sleeping and then start talking about what they were like in bed and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's stuff that does happen. And I guess he should be careful of those things. You're right. But maybe when you're talking about the Me Too movement, maybe now's not the best time to talk about your difficulties as being a super pretty rich man who can do whatever he wants.
That's all I'm saying. We all know what it's like to be a disturbingly attractive, rich celebrity guy. We get it.
I mean, look at the two of us.
Exactly.
It's super hard. Our lives are just difficult.
Choose your conversation times better. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, that's true. Yes, pick your times. Know your audience. Oh boy.
All right. So what do you got?
All right. So, Bond. Can we talk Bond for a second?
Sure.
All right. So, this is Bond 25. This is Daniel Craig's last film. So obviously we're all in the uproar and the hype of who's going to play the next Bond.
Tom Hardy.
Now,
Should be Tom Hardy.
Okay. I don't argue with that. But, okay, so let's put Tom Hardy aside for a second. Okay. All right? So obviously the fandom is like, well, should Bond be a person of color or should Bond be a woman? And while I think the whole should Bond be a person of color should be absolutely, I mean, if Idris Elba wants to do it or somebody else who's just as qualified or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
But what do you think as a super Bond fan if they made Bond a woman? And his entire characterization of a womanizing thing. And then you're actually really solidifying that Bond is just a title. It's not like It's a guy.
Are you talking about the fan theory thing, or are you talking?
Yeah. Well, in general, yeah, the fan theory, yes. We're basically James Bond 007.
It's just a code name passed down to agent to agent.
Yeah.
Well, we know that's not true because it doesn't work with the canon of the films, if you've ever seen it.
Sure.
I don't see. This is where I get off my lawns, which is, if you're not familiar, is a phrase I use when I'm being an old codger who doesn't want things to change.
Like I do when it comes to Peter Parker Spider-Man, but continue.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know if it just, the James Bond that I've had in my life is not, it doesn't, God, there's no way to say this without sounding like a sexist a-hole. There's no way to do it. I mean, the screaming on fire liberal in me wants to say, yeah, of course. Of course.
But, deep down, it would just be a betrayal of everything that the characters had for the past 50 years. I mean, how can you reconcile that slimy, smarmy, super cool at the same time Sean Connery version of that, then go to a woman later on?
I think Dalton and Craig were the two that were the most Puritan of the group.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I don't know. It's like, just give me that. I'm on board with everything. Just don't
mess with my Bond. Don't mess with my Bond.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. Most of the time, like, honestly, I'm not so beholden, unless it's so intrinsic to the character that you can't change their race or their gender or whatever. Most of the time, I'm okay with it. It doesn't, I mean, sure, give me something different. Doctor Who, yeah, sure, make him a woman, make a woman. There's no reason you couldn't have a female doctor, but
sure.
I don't know. James Bond, I don't see it. Like, I don't see how you could have a woman play James Bond at all. Now, what I really wish, because I'm pissed off at all these Brits coming over here and taking all the American hero roles.
That's right, Henry.
Not British to go there and start doing it in a British accent, because they'll lose their damn minds. We've got Superman being played by a British guy. We've got Spider-Man being played by a British guy. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, Batman was British for quite a while, or Welsh, whatever Christian Bale is.
Yeah, he's Welsh. Yeah.
So, no, that's true.
That's the petition I'm starting up. American for Bond using a British accent.
I wonder how that would shake out. That would be pretty funny. All right, Matt. It was announced this week that Neil Blomkamp has been hired to do a RoboCop sequel, a sequel to the first film.
Oh, okay.
Your thoughts?
Getting rid of 2 and 3 and whatever that remake thing was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm down for it. I'd be interested to see. I hope he can keep some of Verhoeven's ridiculous cutting satire, but I mean, Neil Blomkamp, as we've known, seen, can bring some of the shocking violence, which I think is really what you need for this. Like, you need blown up for this kind of stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of down. I would love to kind of see it. Is Peter Weller still around? Could he pull this off?
He's still around. I don't know if he can pull it off at this point.
Well, I mean,
the suit would be a lot more comfortable.
All they got to do is like CGI this. I mean, you can see and you would never be able to tell.
That's true. They could CGI that. You're entirely right. I mean, look, Michael Douglas in those Ant-Man movies looks like it was filmed 30 years ago.
Yeah, I know. Michelle Pfeiffer looks like she's like 40 years old in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy.
So they could definitely, you know what? That is fascinating. And if anybody would try it, I bet you it would be Blomkamp. I bet you he would give it a shot. Though he is desperate to cast Sharlto Copley as Murphy in that thing. He is.
I can't think it would work. I could see him playing.
He'd be the Boddicker. He'd be the bad guy.
He would be Boddicker. He would be a very good Boddicker. Is who Sharlto Copley would be.
Yeah, he'd definitely be the villain role in that thing. Yeah. I don't know. I'm on the fight.
But see, I mean, the problem with this have not been very good lately. I think, unfortunately, it's looking like District 9 was the exception, not the rule, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They've had steadily worse quality to where Chappie is almost unwatchable, except for the fact that it's just so weird that you just kind of gotta watch it at the same time.
And the CGI in that thing is absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of like RoboCop 2, and it's how violent it is. It is. It is an insane film.
It is.
But
it is a bat crazy film. That's for sure.
I don't know. Of course I'm gonna see it. Maybe Blomkamp can redeem himself with this thing. If they can do the Peter Weller and CGI the heck out of it and run with that, and then you know what? Let's see what you got. Let's see.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet.
All right, what do you got?
But Peter Weller would do it. I don't know if he would do it, but he should do it. Damn it. What else is he doing? Buckaroo Banzai, too. All right, so it's been on again, off again, but now it's looking like it's actually going to happen. Because the department's too busy with AT&T Time Warner merger. It looks like this Disney Fox merger is going to happen.
Okay.
And I read a thing today that if and when this goes through, Disney will control 40% of the movie output in the U.S. That is, let's just let that sink in, guys.
Yeah.
40% is going to be Disney films, or somewhere connected to. They've got their fingers in the pie. What are we going to get? Are we going to get something more daring from Disney? Because how many wholesome-ish films can they make? I mean, Star Wars is relatively family-friendly. Marvel Cinematic Universe is. They've got their animation arm and everything else that they make.
Well, they used to have Touchstone, which was the naughty end of the Disney Disney films.
Yeah. Are they going to go buy Blumhouse and just let him go crazy with huge budgets? That would be kind of amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I don't. It does make me pause. It really does. Though a lot of times when things are bleak is sometimes when you get the best art. So I don't know, but you need. I'm of two minds of this thing, because when you have big successful franchises like your superhero films and your Star Wars and all that stuff, it can free up capital to do other things, as long as the people running the show are interested in doing that. That money can help prop up the studio while they put stuff out, like not that Disney's doing this, but you can get A24 type stuff. And maybe if they have the right people in charge and have the right mind of it, we can have another A24 type studio that is an arm of Disney.
Yeah. Well, and Disney owned Miramax for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think inevitably in the end, it's not going to be good.
I don't think so.
I just think that much control over that many properties. And as we talked earlier in the show with Ant-Man and the Disneyfication of the superhero film, they do have certain guidelines, and if that impacts the entire property book, their IP, I don't know. I think inevitably it's not going to be good.
So so once we get 20th century Disney, what's left? I mean, we've got Universal and we've got Sony, but that's on the block, and that's going to be up on the block anytime. I really think it's just because it's just losing so much money for them.
Lionsgate is still out there, and so is New Line,
Warner
right?
Brothers. Yeah, but those aren't the big ones.
They're
I think
not big, no.
Universal, Sony, and WB are the other big players, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Warner Brothers is the biggest. I mean, they have the largest collection, of back catalog films out of any studio.
Yeah.
And Universal's owned by Comcast already, so.
Yeah. So I guess, it'd be interesting. Somebody's going to be coming for Sony, and then I think that's going to be it. We're going to have 3 major ones. I'm hoping, at this point, just my nerddom, I just hope that Disney gets it, just because I want Spider-Man over there for sure, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm confident, though, another A24 or something like that will pop up, and there will always be a drive and a pursuit of films of that caliber. People like me and you that want to check that stuff out.
And it's become easier and easier to make a film outside of the studio system. Just with the tech available to you, you can do it. If we had a good idea and knew how to act and do all that kind of stuff, we could do it. We've got an iPhone and some editing software. People have made more with less.
Sean Baker, Steven Soderbergh have made movies on iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is that the technology now is so readily available. My big thing is what happens if the studios start buying theater chains. Then I think things get a little dodgier because now you're going to be limited in what you can see. And the earlier independent stuff will basically be regulated to.
God, that would be so crazy. That would be like car dealerships, right? Like you'd have to go. There's the Disney theater for your 20th Century Fox stuff and your Marvel stuff, and then you've got the WB Sony theater directly across the street. That would be insane.
That I think would be. I actually think that would be worse than Disney purchasing 20th Century Fox and eventually Sony.
Yeah,
I think having just individual theater that would be bad.
Well, we already see
I hadn't even thought
streaming
about that.
services.
Yep.
Everybody's getting so. Restaurants, Taco Bell. This is very Demolition Man. It's all coming true.
So, Matt, how about those MI6 reviews? 93%. They're saying that it is the best Mission Impossible film of all time, which, if you've seen Ghost Protocol, that is a bold statement, my friend.
That is a hugely bold statement.
And then also potentially one of the best action movies ever made.
Yeah. I was not that excited for this. So I've never been a huge fan of the Mission Impossible films. Mission Impossible was a decent film. It was good, but I didn't have any skin in the game. Mission Impossible 2 was really not that good. Mission Impossible 3, it was okay. It had its moments, but then...
And I just want to interject, the best villain in the franchise so far.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Philip
That's very
Seymour
true.
Hoffman.
Yeah, and he elevated it quite a bit just on the force of his performance alone. But yeah, when Ghost Protocol came out, that was just kind of like a revelation where they were just kind of resetting everything and let's and whatever they did, it worked really well. Now, MI5, what was was that Rogue Nation?
Yeah.
It was good, but it was definitely a step down. So I'm actually pretty excited for this. I really want to see how good this thing really is.
Yeah, I agree. I think still, for me, having not seen Fallout yet, that Ghost Protocol is the apex of the series. But Rogue Nation is enjoyable. I watched it about 3 or 4 days ago, and it's still fun. It's a fun ride. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Christian McQuarrie is able to churn out here with this thing. He also did the first Jack Reacher film, and he did do Rogue Nation as well. So I'm really excited about this. And also, too, folks, if you're going to see this, from everything I've read, see it on the largest screen possible. It's just supposed to be epic. So I'll be checking this out in IMAX. I hope it's not IMAX 3D, though. I hate that.
I hate 3D.
What do you got?
Okay, so can we move to the obligatory comic book news and speculation here?
Go ahead.
The show. So Joaquin Phoenix, this thing is actually confirmed. Like, he is going to make his own standalone Joker film. So as the distinguished competition of the two of us, what are your thoughts on this? Tell me, what do you feel?
Since it's Joaquin, I'm interested. I'm really interested in it. I'm starting to think that Joaquin Phoenix is the finest actor of his generation. And to see him tackle this role could be really, really interesting. And if we're jettisoning Jared Leto, or if this is going to be a multiverse, alternate, universe Joker, I don't know what the heck's going on with Warner Brothers right now.
Yeah.
But I'm still excited because just Joaquin Phoenix is enough to sell me on that.
Yeah.
That's all I need to see.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really, really curious to see how this goes. And I've been screaming this since day one. If you've been listening to this show for any length of time when the DCEU comes up, I'm not a huge fan of DC, but I do respect their characters and I do like a lot of them. I just don't have the same emotional investment as Chris does as I do in the Marvel characters because that's what I grew up reading. But that being said, one of the things that I always loved about DC was they would do these Elseworld stories. They would take their characters, completely remove them out of continuity, and just kind of go crazy and just tell a really cool, self-contained story. Like, what would happen if Superman had landed in Russia instead of Kansas? Those kinds of things. And they're just great. And I would just love if they would just start, if this thing is a success, that maybe they keep floundering and, maybe they'll eventually right the ship or just abandon it for the DCEU. But maybe this is kind of like the spark to see, okay, maybe we can have standalone films out. We can still try and do our extended universe thing, but we can have standalone films too they're completely their own thing, which I would absolutely love.
I mean, to see a Batman Gotham by Gaslight or a Holy Terror or what's the Red Rain, the Dracula one?
Or Kingdom Come would be.
Oh, Kingdom Come would be the ultimate to see that on the. They haven't even made an animated thing out of that yet, have they?
No, they haven't. No.
So
they see it, even though it's been ripped off so many times. I would see a proper Dark Knight Returns. I would be in line to go see that.
Yeah, that's another good one. Batman Year One. Do it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Even Year 2. I don't know about Year 3. So, Matt, speaking of superhero movies, why did it take so long? We finally got a Black Widow movie announced. And by the way, props to ScarJo to pull out of that rub and tug film. I think it was the right decision. And good for you. So, but what's up? And I think I put the backlash on that, I think, on her PR people. I think they handled that really badly. If you're not familiar with Rub and Tug, ScarJo is going to play a trans man in that film. And even though there are trans actors. So there was a lot of hubbub about that. And I think rightfully so. And but her PR people, her manager, whoever it was, really did not handle that well. So I don't know. But anyway, Black Widow film, what took so damn long?
I don't know. I mean, it could be any nature of things. These things, as we've seen, are pretty set in stone. Like, they've kind of plotted these things out. They all kind of intertwine. They have their schedule planned out pretty far ahead. So I think it took so long just because they, had to make it fit. And I think now when they're starting over kind of this new phase, this is a time where they can make it fit. And depending on how it turns out, I mean, if it's like a prequel kind of thing and it's kind of outside of it, I guess they could have done it earlier, but maybe they didn't have the resources, or it was just hard to do, or she wasn't unavailable, since she's in these, basically all of these as it is in some form or capacity through line. And before you nerds start coming at me saying, yeah, well, what about Spider-Man? But that's like their biggest character that they have that they never had access to. So of course they're going to reshuffle everything to fit Spider-Man into there. That's not the same thing. So
Black Widow does not have the following of Spider-Man.
I think honestly it's disappointing that it took as long as it did, but I don't hold it against them, and I don't think it was any kind of vast conspiracy, because Feige, and I believe him, has said he's always wanted to try, at least in the past 5 years that he's been talking about it, that he wants to try and get her own film. It's just, I think because they had planned this out so far, and especially, bidding in Spider-Man into that they kind of painted themselves in the corner, and they just couldn't produce any other films.
I think that's fair, considering too that she's not an A-lister.
Right.
So,
and maybe she doesn't want to. Maybe she's fine. Maybe she's fine just showing up for, maybe she doesn't want to put the commitment in. She's seen she talks to RDJ, and she talks to Chris Evans, and she talks to Chris Hemsworth, and they're like, yeah, I am freaking exhausted. I'm really tired of doing this. And maybe she just likes showing up and getting paid a good amount of money to be a main player in a film, but not the tentpoles keeping the thing alive.
Yeah, probably not. And she's not even I don't even think Black Widow's B level. Like, I think Doctor Strange is B level. And anybody too, same thing. If they come at me for the whole Ant-Man's not. He's like BC level. Yeah, except the difference with Ant-Man is that was something that wow, what's his name? Why am I blanking on? Edgar Wright wanted to do that for the longest time. When you have a talent like Edgar Wright behind something, he latches onto a character, you're going to let him do it. And then things they didn't work out, but they ended up running with generally what his idea was anyway.
Right.
So
and
that's different.
And Ant-Man is, to be fair, a founding member of the Avengers. He's one of the originals. So,
but he wasn't in the films, so I don't.
Well, no, he wasn't in the film. You're right. You're right. He wasn't.
Good point, Matt. Thanks for bringing that up. Did you have anything else?
In general?
Yeah. Anything else?
Can we talk more one more comic book thing?
Go ahead.
We alluded to it a little bit here earlier about, okay, what is the next seismic shift? And I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but okay, how are we gonna get? Let's just assume this thing is gonna go through it. I'm really feeling it is. Are we gonna get Fantastic Four and all of the stuff that comes with them, like Doom and Galactus and the Silver Surfer, and then we've got the X-Men? Are we gonna get both of those in the MCU? And how do you think they're gonna do it?
Oh, I would think so if the deal goes through. Except now you're looking at 5 Marvel movies a year. I don't know if financially Disney wants to do something like that. So, I mean, you could basically do one every 2 months at that point once you get those properties. You'd almost be obligated to with the X-Men fan base.
Yeah.
I don't know. And how they're going to introduce it all? That I don't basically. That I'm not sure about because they've been pushing the Inhumans thing for so long. I just don't. That they've just been in the shadows this whole time. I guess maybe.
Well, so I read this nerd theory on Reddit. I like this idea. It's extremely comic booky, but it kind of goes back to Secret Wars, and not the original Secret Wars with like the Skrulls and all that stuff, but like the latest one where they had Battle World, where basically what happened was, Marvel, just like DC, has this concept of the multiverse. There are different Earths or whatever, right? And there's different similar superheroes in a lot of them, but to what is we're used to on the main Earth. So the idea I think that they're going to talk about is that while there are no mutants here, there's going to be a Secret War thing, and they're going to have like a multiverse where you're going to have Miles Morales Spider-Man, you're going to have Gwen Stacy Spider-Man coming in, and then you could pull in the mutants. They could be from like another Earth, and that's where they came from, and then like some of them end up getting stranded in the main timeline or whatever, something like that, and that's how you introduce them. Or you just keep it kind of completely separate, and they just kind of every now and again cross over between the other two realms.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I have no idea. I really don't know. I had like 3 more, but I want to wrap this up. I think people are tired of listening to us, so I got one more for you.
Okay.
It was announced this past week that Billy D's coming back as Lando. And that is a colossal mistake. I do not understand, and I'm not going where you think I am with this. I do not understand the thought process behind this.
Okay.
Do you have any idea how awesome it would have been to just have a scene where Lando just walks out and we had no idea he was coming?
Right.
Can you imagine that moment where we land on, I don't know, pick a planet in Star Wars. I can't remember any of the damn things. I always say Alderaan, which I know is the absolute worst one to choose.
They're not Tatooine.
They're on Tatooine, and they're I don't know, or the Millennium Falcon gets captured again or something like. I don't care what, but just imagine that scene. He walks out or he turns around and it's him. Could you imagine what that would feel like?
Yeah.
Without knowing he was in the movie? Why not keep that under wraps, Matt? Why reveal that? It's not like, what, you think no one's going to go if they don't announce that Billy D's reprising his role as Lando?
Yeah.
What is the thought process behind that?
I think the only thought process is that it's going to get out anyway. I don't think how they can, especially depending on how big a role he has in the film, if they can keep it quiet, because somebody's going to find out. And if you, again, like the two of us, if you frequent the more nerdy corners of the internet, fans of the Star Wars genre, there's a certain loud subsect of fans that really want Lando to show up. It's like, okay, you had Han, you had Luke, you had Leia. Where's our boy Lando? Why aren't you bringing Lando up? So I think this is also kind of a preemptive, okay, guys, we heard you. Here he comes. Shut up about it now, and let's just make the freaking movie kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't chase Billy D. Williams off of social media while we're at it. Thank you.
Which you know is coming.
Yeah.
Lando would never wear that type of cape. What is wrong with you, Abram?
Yeah, can you imagine? That's what the new characterization is. Like Ryan Johnson, that's the one stipulation. Ryan Johnson gets to write Billy D. Williams' character. Sitting there saying, like, he's like all sitting in a dark room. I had to get rid of all my capes. He's all wearing like burlap sack, like he has no style at all. He's not a bon vivant at all.
He's given up gambling and women. He's not into any of that stuff anymore.
He's an ascetic, living in the
burning all of his capes. Never again.
We could have a flashback scene of Donald Glover throwing the capes on a bonfire.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. I like that.
That is what's gonna happen. There, plug it in.
All right, so we're gonna have a call coming up soon, man. I want you and the listeners to ruminate on this. Okay. So call it. Which franchise? Mission Impossible or Fast and Furious?
As the greatest.
I don't want one goes and one stays. I don't want an answer. Okay. I want you to think about it. We'll do maybe we'll pocket that for when we actually do the Mission Impossible review show. Okay. Mission Impossible or Fast and Furious. Which one stays? Which one goes?
All right. Very good.
That's going to be the big show. Let's wrap this puppy up. We are over this week. So this is some bonus content for everybody. Congratulations. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to hear from you. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll, scroll, scroll. You will find us. Go over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. 3.5, 4 stars and up. No matter what the review, I will read it on the show. So get on that. You people aren't doing nothing. And that's going to be the big show for this week, Matt. Next week, though, are we going to try and do them both? Are we doing Skyscraper and what's the other one again? I'm blanking on it.
Sorry for bothering you.
Sorry. Thank you. Sorry to bother you. Are we gonna try and do both?
Why the hell not? Hey, tell me about this thing. How does this AMC A-list work? Do you have to be like a Stubbs premiere already? So
no, you just sign up, $20 a month. You go to 3 movies a week, anytime. IMAX, Dolby, doesn't matter. 3D, doesn't matter. 3 movies a week, $20 a month.
Well, since there's a lot of movies that we're seeing 2 movies a week, that is pretty good.
I went to see Ant-Man and the Wasp in IMAX on a Friday because of this. It was $17-18 for the ticket. And then I saw The Purge. And then boom, I've clearly cleared my $20 for the month. Now I'm free rolling. Right. So I think it's worth it. I think it's great, especially for how often we go, especially at this point. And you can go and the big thing too is not having to go on cheapy night on Tuesdays. You can go whenever now, which really frees up my schedule. So that's it.
All right.
You should do it. I know I am surrounded by AMCs. You are not, so I know it's a little more difficult.
Actually, no. They've actually started to buy up a lot of theaters around here.
Okay.
And Bloomfield, believe it or not, has been turned into an AMC.
Oh, really?
And that's like 2 minutes from work.
There you go. Perfect. You going to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Attaboy. Thank you for derailing my closing. So that's going to be the big show for this week. I'm going to take an extended break, and we'll see you all soon.
He's in the system.
I'm in the system. You're in the system. The system?